You're listening to the Flickcast, a pop culture podcast. I am Chris Ulrich, and with me, of course, Joe Dilworth. Joe, how's it going, bro?
It is going well. How are you?
I don't know why I threw a bro in there. That doesn't make any sense. Hey, bro, what's happening, bro?
Brohane. Yeah.
Jesus,
dude.
I don't know. This is starting poorly. I'm just going to say that right now.
That's okay. It's we're getting towards the end of a very tough year, so
that's true. That's very true.
I think it's okay if at one time things go slightly off the rails. Not that it doesn't often air, but still.
And we have a chance to recover. The thing that people don't realize is I don't think that we've recorded a new episode in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, at least. And you guys have been getting regular doses of the show. But yeah, no, we have a very movie-esque recording process where...
Well, it's just there's scheduling conflicts and whatever, and we try to get it together. But luckily, we had recorded some stuff in advance and had some deep dives available and things like that. So we've been making it work. But we'll try to be more on the ball, as it were. But things happen, and like Joe just said, it's 2020. Anything's possible. So, but today, this is a good episode that we were originally going to try to do for last week because it's more of a Thanksgiving thing, but now we still feel like we can be thankful for things because it's technically still Thanksgiving weekend, even though when this episode comes out, it'll be Monday after Thanksgiving, but that's okay. I think that it's good to be continuing our trend of positive things and talk about things we're thankful for and be happy for, and just, try to make a uplifting, happy show because things are getting better, it seems like, but we're not out of the woods yet. So let's still be pushing forward and being positive. At least that's how I'm going to go about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'm kind of, and let's be honest, at least from where I think the U.S. is concerned, the whole barometer for things getting better is the U.S. election, which is just a circus all its own, and we're not going to bring the show down by talking about that, but I do feel like I'm in that place where, I think that cool thing is really happening, but I'm not really going to believe it until I actually see it in its official kind of thing, So I don't know
exactly.
It does feel like this whole general atmosphere, though, of the year has changed, and like I said, probably hinged on a recent event, but it's kind of like, is this a drama movie happy ending where everything's cool now, or is this the Friday the 13th ending where it's like, everything's cool now, no he's back kind of thing?
The last little scare at the end. No, I think it's going to be probably a combination. I mean, things are going to get better, and then there's still going to be some of the same problems which will have to be dealt with, not the least of which, of course, is COVID. But again, we're not going to get into that too much, even though we always say we're not going to talk about this, but then we end up talking about it anyway. So there you go. Yeah. But I would like to try to move forward right now and just say that one of the things that I'm thankful for, and we've talked about this before on the show, but I'm going to say it again, is this whole podcast in general, because people don't, you sit at home a lot, things happen, you're like, the life is terrible, the world is coming to an end or whatever, and you tend to get into your own head, at least I do. So this has been very good for me, talking to people about things that are, that I like, movies, TV, pop culture, whatever. And so it's been very positive. So I'm thankful for that. I mean, obviously I'm thankful for my family and people, my friends and all that, because that's what everybody says. And that's true. I am. They're great people. I'm very lucky. I have a great family and a good support system. And so that's cool. And but I'm definitely thankful for being able to come back and do this again with you, Joe. So thank you.
Oh yeah, no, yes, and I'm kind of going to parallel your sentiments there. My, of course, as you said, my family and my friends.
No, you have to come up with something else.
No, I'll get there. But my family and friends, because we're, as far as my immediate family is, we're all together, we're all healthy, we're all safe. Same thing with my greater family and my friends. So I'm very thankful for that. With everything going on in the world that we're not going to discuss. And this podcast, I mean, I think I talked about this when we started up the podcast. We did the Flickcast for we had a good like 2-3 year or more run there, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely.
So, I always enjoyed it. I always liked it. And I was always disappointed when one of us had to cancel for whatever reason, much like, the recent things. But I know that we're back, baby. We've got the momentum. We're energized and jazzed about it. And so this time it doesn't bug me as much. But it was. I was genuinely sad when we kind of stopped doing it. And the more we talked, and especially beginning of the year, and kind of brought up the idea of resurrecting the Flickcast, I was really excited by the idea, and then it just seemed a perfect thing to do once we really got into the fun of the thing we're not going to mention. But yeah, no, I'm very happy to be back with it. Very excited. It's a lot of fun, and I like talking with you and hanging out with you, even if it's virtual. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. I wondered. I was going to say this. I wonder if because we did talk about it a lot. I wonder if we'd actually gone through with it if it wasn't for COVID. Because I feel like that was the ultimate catalyst. Because we kind of like, so. We should do the podcast again. I was going to do a podcast with some other people and another thing, and I was doing this. I was writing my book, and I was doing a whole bunch of other stuff, and also being a parent, which does take time. But then we're stuck at home now, and well, most people are, and this whole thing happened, and I said, gee, this is a perfect time to podcast, which is probably why so many other people are doing podcasts now.
Sure.
So it worked out. I think it worked out, and I hope to continue doing this for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I do enjoy it because, again, it allows me to talk about some things that I like besides hanging out with you, all the things that we like and enjoy, movies and all that, and it's a good time. So what else, Joe? Something else for you?
Yeah, no, that's it.
Check your list.
Check it twice.
Check it twice, exactly. Oh, Santa's coming soon. That's exciting.
He will be here soon. You have your cookies ready? I guess it's probably too early to put cookies out for him because they'll go bad.
It's too early to put cookies out, but it's not too early to watch Elf. We watched that a couple nights ago.
That's a great Christmas movie.
My son had never seen Elf because he's 7, and he was skeptical because there was no Pokemon in it. And so he's like, I don't think I'm going to like this. I'm like, all right, well, give it a try. Will Ferrell is an acquired taste.
He's a connoisseur.
He's like, yeah. So he's like, I don't know. And then he's like, you have kids, so they resist, and then you can see the transformation on their face as they're like, oh, this isn't so bad.
Yes,
I kind of like it. And then at the end, he was loving it. He loved it. He was like, I thought I saw a tear at the end too when the whole thing happened. No spoilers for Elf, even though it came out 1,000 years ago, but still.
I'm thankful too for. It may sound trite, but like the internet and the communities therein. So I'll be honest. I mean, I have friends that live near me that
That's nice of you to say. I have friends
we go and hang out with and stuff like that. But I would say my greater friendships, like the people that I like to do, I don't know, a podcast with, or to geek out about particular things, tend to be people that I've met, either at cons or through other means, and they're all remote. They don't live here. They're all virtual. They're all out there. You don't even exist as far as I know. You only exist to me as a voice right now.
I could be a computer simulation. I could be like some AI bot going, hello, Joe, how are you? I'd like to sing you a song.
I'm thankful for technology because I think technology's really had its moment to shine in the world shutting down and enabling people to stay together and still communicate. I mean, I know there are, and I'll say this because we've discussed suffering from depression and stuff before, and I know there's moments where it's like it doesn't matter how many people are around, you still feel alone and you still feel shut off, and that's heightened even more by the fact that we all have to be home all the time. But the fact that we could still do this, and my family, like tomorrow for Thanksgiving, my greater family, we're not going to get to see. We're going to be on a Zoom call and have the video up and have other basically a virtual reunion, have other family members from other part of the country join in when they want to and stuff like that. And it's like, that's kind of cool. So yeah, thankful that technology is getting to shine and show its good intentions and keep the world connected even when we can't actually be together.
Yeah, who knew Zoom would turn out to be so important, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't think Zoom realized how important they would be. But
No.
it's funny you say that. Not funny, but it makes sense because that kind of segues into one of the things I've been thankful for too. And I know I've mentioned it again before. That's a weird thing to say. I know I've mentioned it before on the show, but I'll say it again. That's what I was trying to say. It's Dungeons and Dragons. And so in order to do that, normally you'd play Dungeons and Dragons around a table with friends and whatever, and you could hang out. But now we've been playing virtually. And so without the technology that you were just talking about for Discord or for Zoom, I use both. And without Twitch, because we're streaming it sometimes too, it wouldn't be possible, and we wouldn't be able to do it. And that avenue of relating to people and community would be cut off from you. I mean, you could still do it, via text or however we used to do it in the bulletin board days, but it wouldn't be the same. I mean, you still had some video conferencing, like Apple had its iChat video and stuff, and there's other, you had Skype video, right? But it wasn't as perfected, I think, as it is now. And if those technologies didn't exist, then I wouldn't be able to have this avenue to, I mean, I play 3 nights a week, and, it's a whole different group of people, and you see them and you can interact with them. It's not exactly the same, obviously, but it's so much better than just what I would do normally. If the internet didn't exist or if that technology didn't exist, I would, send a couple of emails or whatever, or tweet something or text somebody. Right. But then I'd turn on the TV and I'd play Xbox by myself, or I'd hang out with the family, God forbid. No, or whatever. Or before I had kids or whatever, you spend a lot of time by yourself. I kind of feel in some ways worse for people that don't have even anyone at home. Like, I can't imagine what it's like if you're just like single.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, do you spend more time on Zoom? Like, I have friends who are single and don't have kids or whatever. And one of the guys that plays in one of my games, he's alone. And I just, at least I have people around, in the house. And then I have this outlet for whatever. But yeah, thank God for Zoom, and thank goodness for Discord and Skype and, whatever else we're using here. We're using Discord right now, but.
Well, and, even above that, not even just the connected part, you have at your fingertips the ability to get really any form of entertainment that you want, as long as you can, afford to pay for it. But I mean, it's not like you're stuck at home, like pre-internet, where I can't go to a movie. I can't, probably then there wouldn't have been a lot of stuff in production. So it would have been repeats on TV if you had it, but you wouldn't have, any internet to get any movie you wanted, any TV show you wanted, download books, any music you want, or to watch. A lot of bands have been doing live shows via the internet. So it's like, it again, maybe that's a part of feeling connected, but it's like, you can't go to the movie theater, but you could still watch new movies, right? So
yeah, you can, and you can watch old movies too, which is what I've been doing. Or there's been a lot of stuff on Netflix or whatever. Yeah, we are in sort of a, and again, I wonder if it would have been this successful if it wasn't for the fact that people are stuck at home for the most part. Because I feel like this transition was happening eventually, and again, we've talked about this too. People is transitioning more to being at home and watching stuff at home, and less people are going to the theaters and all that stuff. But it just got accelerated now, and I think people will return to the theaters, but not quickly probably, and it'll steadily, it won't be as big as it was. I don't know. Or maybe it will. Maybe there's a pent up desire to go out and do stuff like that, and there probably is for a while, and maybe that'll help sustain it for a while, and then it'll go away again or it'll drop off. But I think if anything, it's proven that you can release things. And there's enough things to watch, and you end up just rediscovering gems that you've forgotten about, or new stuff comes out. Like we talked about, like Enola Holmes. We talked about Queen's Gambit. I don't know if you had a chance to watch Queen's Gambit yet, but
I have not yet. I've banked it, and I cannot wait to watch it. But
it's amazing, and I cannot say enough good things about Queen's Gambit, and I cannot say enough good things about Ted Lasso. If you haven't watched that yet, you have to see that too.
Not yet.
Ted Lasso is amazing, especially. I don't know. I feel like it's the kind of show that it's the exact right show for the time that we're in. Because it's such a positive, uplifting kind of, I mean, the character of Ted Lasso is such a, everything's going to be fine. And this is how we're going to, he's like, we're going to push through, and he's optimistic. And it's a great kind of thing for this time, but also it's just a well done show. And if people haven't watched it yet, they have to watch it. Even though it's on Apple TV, it's kind of that's the one bummer. But I got to imagine that's going to be released in other ways too. But it's it's excellent. And Queen's Gambit is excellent. I cannot say enough nice things about that. And Enola Holmes, which you talked about before, awesome. And of course, Disney Plus Mando season 2. Thank goodness for that. I'm very thankful for Mando. In fact, I was so excited that we got to, me and my son got to watch that the first day it came out, season 2. And I was like, yeah, cool. And it was such a great experience. And I think the show is super fun. And I love all the Star Wars jokes. Like last week's episode, I don't know if you watched it, but
spoiler.
The joke, spoiler. But the joke about this doesn't even have a guardrail. I just love that. It was just like it's so meta. I'm like, oh, finally someone addresses it.
And the week before that with Bo-Katan, where one of the guys in the thing makes they're like, oh, how many stormtroopers are in there? Well, a squadron at most, and the one guy's like, yeah, but they can't hit the broadside of a bantha. It's like, of course, and that's the thing we joked about for years. So.
Well, that's right. That's the funny thing that Obi-Wan's like, oh, these stormtroopers are so precise. It's like, no, they're not.
No, not really.
Sorry, Obi-Wan. I don't know what you're smoking, bro, but that's not. No, I broed Obi-Wan too. Oh no.
But yeah, Mandalorian is just like the best Star Wars ever. I mean, it's great, and I've seen people online. They're like, well, this doesn't really have much actual story and blah, blah, blah and all this stuff. And I'm like, it's just a fun show to watch. I really enjoy it. And
people are, there's some backlash a little bit online now. I think because it's like the first season was so, everybody's like, oh my God, it's amazing. Baby Yoda, oh, the best.
Right.
And now some people, I should say, a few, are criticizing this season because they feel like it's more of a filler season, not as much is happening. I mean, granted, there's been like 3 episodes where they're traveling somewhere, and the spider episode was kind of, I don't want to say filler. It was very exciting and everything, but it definitely was a contained episode where stuff happened. Oh, you did meet the X-Wing guys at the end, and we can talk about Mando for a second, but I'm sure people are caught up
because I'm thankful for that. So.
I'm very, very thankful for Mando coming back. But this last episode, I really enjoyed a lot. And the one before that, of course, like you said, with Bo-Katan and Katie Sackhoff coming on the show was great. Yeah. I think that and I've seen this, it's not my theory, I've seen this online, but I feel like it's probably true, and I'll just go into it for a second. But the theory that people are throwing out there, and some people have some people in the know might have confirmed tidbits of this, but this is going to help bridge the gap between the Star Wars movies and then how Snoke becomes something, and then how Palpatine becomes something in the last movie of the second trilogy or the third trilogy. So it's going to like help to bridge the gap between all that stuff, because Filoni is no dummy, and so if anybody can figure out how to retcon all that stuff to make it work, it's him. So
that's true, and that's it. I mean, I guess they kind of hinted to that in the
because what did they
episode,
again?
Right?
This is definite spoilers for the last episode of Mandalorian. If you haven't seen it, what did they find in that room? I mean, there was clones, if you want to, or like some kind of experiments they found in that base, right? And so they kind of look like Snoke, a couple of them.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's
so yeah. And then the scientist is like, oh, we need the genetic material. So my question is, are they trying to create Force sensitive clones by extracting the DNA from Baby Yoda, right?
It seems like
so. And then Snoke has the Force, right?
Right. Exactly.
So that's what I'm saying. So they're trying to take the midichlorians, although they called it the M material or whatever, because they don't want to say midichlorians. Everyone's going to go, oh my God, midichlorians. Yes. The show is ridiculous. But yeah, that's again not my theory, someone else's theory, but I think it makes a lot of sense, and
it does.
I'm fine with that.
I mean, they obviously succeed, right? Because Snoke existed. So
right, they do succeed, and then Palpatine gets resurrected in a clone body, right? So the question is, where's the donors for these bodies coming from? And part of the theory was it was coming from Palpatine's son.
Oh, I see.
Who's Rey's dad, right?
I thought they were talking about donor, and I thought they meant Baby Yoda, right?
Well, no, I'm talking about the genetic material to create the clones of Snoke.
Oh, yeah.
So the Baby Yoda is the genetic material to help the midichlorians for the Force.
Right.
But the bodies are clones or hybrid clones of Palpatine's kid.
Oh, I see. So that's kind of plays into how the Emperor comes back.
Right, exactly. And then, because remember also, Palpatine's son is Rey's dad.
Right, exactly.
So it all fits together, right?
Right.
I don't know if that's true, and I don't know if it's whatever, but it makes a lot of sense. And then, which is exciting, because that means we're in for, because again, with Moff Gideon at the end of the episode, we saw the Death Troopers, whatever those are. And so there's going to be a big fight between Moff Gideon and Ahsoka Tano, right?
You would think so. Yeah.
So that's going to be cool. I'm looking forward to it. That's going to be the finale, I bet you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just
well,
that
or awesome. Gideon and Bo-Katan, Bo-Katan and Ahsoka, but yeah, because Bo-Katan obviously, it's obvious she's going to show up again because she wants the Darksaber back.
Well, they'll all show up. They'll all show up. So, but there has to be a Jedi in the mix, and there's going to be a big lightsaber fight. So either she'll fight the Death Troopers. No, they're not Death Troopers though. That's something. There's something.
Yeah,
different.
they're like Dark Troopers
or Dark Troopers. Yeah, that's it. Death Troopers. Yeah, Death Troopers are the different ones. Those are the other ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just things are blowing up, man. It's gonna be awesome.
And I gotta say though, for Mandalorian, how awesome was it to have a town, a western town out in the desert, that the sheriff is Timothy Oliphant and the bartender is W. Earl Brown. I mean, that was just perfect. It was so awesome.
No, you didn't know it was him because he was playing an alien.
No, but I mean, it's like, who was it? Favreau that's like, we need a sheriff and a bartender. Well, we got to get Oliphant. And
who's the Deadwood fan on that crew?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was like, I half expected there would be like one of the Sand People or aliens or another alien or something would be voiced by Ian McShane. I mean, that would have been like the trifecta right there.
I mean, Ian McShane could have been in the show. Maybe, you don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's cool. Of course, there were also people who were against that, too, who didn't think Timothy Oliphant should play another lawman, basically playing the same part he played in Deadwood. And I'm like, well, he does a great job at it. So I bet we'll see him. I think we'll see him again, too. Because obviously this stuff with Boba Fett hasn't been resolved either.
Exactly. So we got to go back to Tatooine at some point. So
why would they go back to Tatooine, I wonder? I guess we don't have to speculate anymore, but it's just, I love the fact that this show exists in the Star Wars universe, but it's such a different kind of thing. And we talked about this before, but it's so well done. And they obviously, here's the thing. Obviously, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are both huge Star Wars fans.
Oh, yeah.
But die-hard Star Wars fans, forever. But I don't think J.J. Abrams was or is.
No, because I agree with you.
That seemed to be too much like a by the numbers. The new trilogy was like, oh, we got to fill this blank and check this box and check this box. And now, granted, that's a feature movie, totally different kind of situation, a lot more cooks.
Yeah.
And this is like, oh, it's just a little show for Disney. It's an expensive show, but it's just for Disney Plus. So maybe they get more freedom and more leeway. But these guys give a shit about Star Wars and trying to make a great show. And I don't know that Abrams did as much give a shit.
I don't know that he, I mean, I would imagine from a filmmaking perspective, I'm sure he was a fan of Star Wars and George Lucas, but I don't think he was like, he's not going to go and probably do a series of podcasts pulling it apart and talking about various facets of it. I don't think he's that kind of level of fandom, nor do I think I think he, I'm sure he's seen it and I'm sure that he loved it, but that it's not like something that he's obsessed with at all. I don't get that at all. And you're right. It was like, it was, here's someone else's idea of how to make a Star Wars movie, right? Basically.
Right. It's like we have to check off these boxes because this is what the, quote unquote, the fans want. And but I don't feel like Filoni and Favreau are, I mean, obviously they're aware of what the fans want, but they're also fans. So they're like, oh, this is what we would like to see. And so that meshes well with what most people want to see.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I agree. I think they are, they're filling it with, I don't think it's gratuitous like references and stuff. It's stuff that makes sense within the universe, but just all the various, I just, they obviously have a love. I even like the fact that apparently there's a scene in the latest episode. I forgot when I rewatched it to look for it, where you can see a stagehand, like his arm in jeans. And so I like the fact that, Carl Weathers directed that episode and he's even joking about that. And like within moments of that episode airing, there was already like mock-ups of an action figure for that guy and stuff like that. But everybody laughed about it and everybody got on the joke, even the people making the show, right?
Well, so you know what it's like to make TV. It's like you're in such a hurry to get everything done, and you're watching the monitors and everything, and you just missed it. It's like the coffee cup in
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, it's like stuff gets
But it's like they all jumped in on the joke as opposed to, I don't think
being offended. Yeah.
Yeah, and then trying to explain it, and you just don't understand filmmaking. They were just like, you know what, this is funny, and it's obvious too. A lot of the other people, especially Katie Sackhoff lately, how much people that either star in or appear on the show are just like, this is the best thing ever. I mean, she's been retweeting fans, posting their Mandalorian armor and stuff like that, and she's like really embracing it. And so is Pedro Pascal recently too. He's been twittering about the Mandalorian and really enjoying interacting with fans. And,
I feel like he's gonna want to. I mean, I heard some controversy, like he wants to have his face seen more or something. I don't know if that's true.
Well, I mean, conflict. I bet it's something that he's probably joked about. It's like, it'd be, since I star on the show, it'd be kind of nice to see me every once in a while. Hey, ha, ha, ha. And then somebody like heard that and like, oh my God, he's saying he needs to be in that scene more and stuff.
Well, because you've heard those kind of rumors.
Yeah,
there was some tension on the set because he was like, or whatever, and so there was some issues, or maybe it was other issues between him and another cast member who we won't talk about, but
sure.
Who knows? But I did notice that in this episode he lifted his helmet and was eating, and Baby Yoda was like down there. He could see like inside
trying
the
to
helmet.
Look.
Yeah. So I don't know that Din Djarin from season 1 would have done that.
Sure. Yeah. True.
Because he does eat, but no living thing has ever seen his face right outside the helmet. So wherever he ate in the last season, he was eating alone. No one was in there, and then he took his helmet off and ate because it was established. But he's starting to relax, which is why he was like, oh, I'll give Bo-Katan, this is the way. I'll agree with her because maybe my cultish offshoot of the Mandalorian faith is not the right one. Who knows?
It was kind of funny that he didn't like really even know where his what he was following came from, and then when it was brought up to him, you're right, he was like, no, I don't do that. What are you talking about? kind of thing. So he's like,
we're not wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll show you. I'll slightly lift my helmet in front of my kid. How about that? So,
well, that's the thing. I mean, he can't. He's the main character of the show, right? It's called The Mandalorian, so the Mandalorian has to evolve.
Right.
He can't be the same character that he was at the beginning. He has to be a different character at the end. He has to learn. Has an arc, right?
Right.
So his arc will be, one of them at least will be like, lighten up, man. Doe. So he's going to change. He has to. Yeah, he's going to find love and care for a child, just like he was a child one time who needed to be helped. And then he's going to loosen up on the armor thing. He's going to realize that he was misled probably, or not, if not misled, but he believed in something that wasn't real. And it's going to be a big crisis for him. I think he's going to have lots of problems dealing with it, and eventually he'll come around, but I think it's going to be hard for him. So
yeah, I'm very excited to see where the show goes. And it sounds like, with interviews with various people behind the scenes and stuff like that, that they're, at least in the people making the show, they have a long-term plan for it. And since it's doing so well on Disney Plus, I don't imagine Disney would ever tell them, no, you can't do that. So
5 years, supposedly.
Yeah. So I think we'll get a full 5 years and a fantastic story out of it. And speaking as a parent too, how much did you relate to, not like literally, but to the scene with, now take the red wire and put it where the blue wire is, and the blue wire, don't touch them again. It was like,
totally. It brings up a question. How come Baby Yoda couldn't tell the difference between red and blue though? I don't know.
Right.
Oh, because he's a baby.
Yeah, supposedly.
And also, don't eat so many cookies.
And then go on a roller coaster.
Yeah, it's funny. If you need, if you need a sweet, bit of comedy, or just like a sweet moment, or a heart tug on the heartstrings or whatever, just cut to Baby Yoda for a second. Yeah. He'll do something adorable, and then
somebody has got to have made a compilation video of all the Baby Yoda scenes from season 1. And then for season 2, right?
Oh, there has to be. There's got to be him like eating the soup or whatever he was doing. There's got to be. I mean, I'm sure that's possible to find. I'm sure we'd have to just search the internets and we'd be there.
That'd be a moment of life is too much. I'm going to watch Baby Yoda for a half hour.
Yeah, it's like watching that video with the baby elephant chasing the birds or whatever, and then he trips, and it was so adorable. So
Yes, exactly.
Or puppies, watching puppies, they learn to walk or anything. There's what is it called? There's a Twitter that has all that stuff. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a good one. They have a lot of like dog and pet related stuff, which is very amusing.
Our producer Mike Seidel has just let us know and just linked us to a YouTube video that is Baby Yoda's best moments in The Mandalorian. So there we go.
Well, there's
your moment of Zen right there. So
all right, that's cool stuff.
Yes.
Unfortunately, no one can see that except us. But
right.
But it's out there. It's out there, folks. We'll put it in the show notes.
It's on. We'll put it in the show notes. Yeah.
He found it in about 10 seconds, so you shouldn't have any trouble finding it.
I don't even think we're finished with that conversation before you.
No, it took like 3 seconds and was an autofill, and the first 3 pages of Google are full of it.
Well, there you go. See?
Well,
Thank you, internets. We're thankful for the internets.
And now it brings us to the other moment I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for our producer Mike Seidel, because honestly, we don't sound nearly as good as you think we do without his expertise in post production, and the fact that he has not developed a drinking habit based on trying to make us sound good is he's a trooper. I mean, he's just awesome.
Well, we can't be responsible for any drinking habit he might have had before the show.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yes, I would also say thank you, Michael. I appreciate all you do, and I am thankful for you making us sound better. Although I sound pretty good, but anyway.
Well, let's be honest. You have that.
I'm amazing.
Yeah, you do. You are, and you have that perfect radio voice. So
I'm thankful for myself. Okay.
Thankful for me.
Thankful for me and all my awesomeness.
And you all should be as well. Okay. So exactly. I'm just saying.
Fear my power. No, no. He does a great job, and we're really happy that he's decided that we're worthwhile to work with. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we got the band back together. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So he's the producer of the show.
Yes.
We don't talk about him enough, but he produces the show and helps, get the guests going and get the show going, keeps us online and keeps us on time, and does a lot of stuff and does a lot of work. So we couldn't do it without him. So
yes, thank you, Michael. Yes.
What else? What else are you thankful for, Joe? I mean, again, you mentioned something about we were talking about Mandalorian, but there was another show that just came back recently that I also want to mention. It's Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, yes. Yes.
This season has been so good, and I'm very happy that we have more Star Trek. And we've talked about Star Trek and the fact that it's nice to have, but I am especially thankful for a quality Star Trek show and the fact that we're going to get another one soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon. With Captain Pike and that team, and then isn't there supposed to be another spinoff with Giorgio too? I thought
Section
Michelle
31
Yeoh was having her
show.
show. Yeah, when's that going to happen?
So they said I don't know. I think the plan was they were going to start after season 3 of Discovery, but the thing that we shall not talk about kind of put that behind. So I think it's supposed to start going soon. Picard supposedly starts shooting again in January. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. If anybody should get the vaccine first, it should be Picard.
Yeah, I think so.
Patrick Stewart should get it first. No.
Well, yeah.
But or among the first. But I'm excited and thankful for Star Trek, because Star Trek has been a constant in my life since almost the beginning of it. So I watched the original series, and we talked about this on the show about what made us and shaped us, about our past and everything. But Star Trek was a constant for me. We moved around a bit. And so the fact that I could watch Star Trek was very, very comforting. Even then, I was thankful for Star Trek, and I still am. So
yeah.
I'm glad that Disco is it's really compelling and enjoyable this season, especially. I mean, the other 2 seasons were good too, but this one I think I'm enjoying even more. It's just very.
What I like about this season, I thoroughly enjoyed the first 2. I love them. But this season, there's a lot going on in every single episode, and they're not like wasting time on stuff. I mean, they find Burnham right away. Second episode, at the end of the second episode, they're all reunited. Then they're like, well, now we got to find the Federation. Like 2 episodes later, found it, So it's like, geez, they're not really wasting time. And retrofitting the Discovery was kind of cool too. Kind of integrating the new technology into the ship itself. That was kind of fun. But yeah,
it's just a well done show. Again, I think it's a show that's made by fans.
Yes.
I mean, I don't mean it's like a fan, you know what I mean? It's like people who care. Not that people who are making shows and other shows don't care about what they're doing, but I think Star Trek has such a legacy that there are a lot of people who want to work on it because they loved it and they love the idea of it and what the show stands for and all that. And it's the same we were just talking about with Star Wars too. It's like these are people that really get it. You know, they come to it from a perspective of this is the kind of show that we'd like to watch. This is the Star Trek show that we like. And yeah, the show gets criticized sometimes, but so what? You're not gonna please everybody.
No.
You know, so it's just so nice to have these kind of things, these kind of reminders of, you know, I don't want to say simpler times, but better times maybe when you were younger. Like Star Wars, like, oh, I watched this when I was young, and it was, you know, things were like optimistic then and all that. And here it is still, you know, 40 years later, we can still talk about Star Wars, and you know, whatever years later, we can still talk about Star Trek, and it's still happening, which I think is extraordinary. So I'm very happy to be. What some extraordinary times we live in, right?
Right. No, and I agree with you too, because like Alex Kurtzman, you could tell back when they were doing the J.J. Abrams movies that he was a huge fan of Star Trek, but I kind of felt like at that point he was kind of beholden to Abrams' vision, right? What Abrams wanted to do for the show. And I'm sure he probably came at him with like lots of ideas, and Abrams like, why should that matter? No, let's do this instead. So kind of having him, you know, unbridled in Star Trek and being told, hey, it's your, you know, you're in charge of the candy store now, right? What do you want to do? Is kind of cool. I mean, because I think he's he's one of us. He's definitely a diehard Star Trek fan. Was it Kristen Beyer, who's also one of the main writers, and I think she does some executive producing on Discovery, and she's might be writing one of the other shows, I think, or something like that. But she, you know, for a number of years, she wrote the official Star Trek Voyager novels, which kind of explains why Voyager made a cameo in the latest episode. So she's, you know, obviously steeped in Star Trek and a huge Star Trek fan. So yeah, no, I think this is another situation where the franchise on TV is being run by, you know, people that grew up with Star Trek and love Star Trek and love, you know, figuring out how the warp core actually works and, you know, things like that, and how the science would allow for some of these fantastical things to still occur in real life and that kind of thing. So I think it's definitely in good hands, and the fact that, you know, Kurtzman and CBS seems to be committed, you know, pandemics notwithstanding, to try to have year-round Star Trek. I'm a huge fan of that. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, in the last, I think the last Star Trek show we had was Enterprise, right? That was kind of how it fizzled out a bit. I mean, I didn't have a problem with Enterprise, but I could tell it wasn't necessarily. It didn't have the longevity maybe that the Discovery had. I don't know why. It just seemed like it was sort of petering out a little bit. But this, you know, this seems like they're trying to be fresh, and they're trying to do something new, and switching around, jumping forward in time is brilliant. Actually, if you think about it, it's it's a great way to start over basically and haul new things. But also have the familiar too, because you have the Federation still.
Yep.
And the ideals of the Federation, they're basically like almost rebuilding it from nothing, which is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
So I'm on board. But yeah, I agree with you. Kurtzman in particular seems to be very, very Star Trek fan. But I also read, I think, an article a while back about J.J. Abrams, actually, where he said that he was not a huge Star Trek fan, but he was more of a Star Wars fan. But that was before he even did Star Wars. So maybe he doesn't like sci-fi at all. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think he likes.
JJ likes money.
He does, but I think he kind of likes the nostalgia and the memory of it, because I mean, Super 8 is huge. I don't know. It's definitely like a love letter to fans of sci-fi, I think. And,
well, it's a love letter to Spielberg for sure.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think that, you know, I think if he made more movies like that and more drama movies instead of sci-fi movies, he'd probably be happier. But
well, here's the thing I'm going to throw out here. This might be controversial. Maybe he should just write movies and not direct them.
Well, there you go. That's not a bad idea either. So, yeah.
I don't know that he should be handed the keys to every big franchise. I don't know. But the nice thing is you can reboot Star Wars and Star Trek in a few years if you want to.
Sure.
Which I'm sure. Although I did, if I'm comparing his movies based on giant franchises that I love, I actually kind of like Star Trek movie, the Star Trek movie with Chris Pine and all that, more, I think, than the Star Wars movies that he did.
Yeah, I mean,
that felt like more of a Star Trek movie than Force Awakens felt like a Star Wars movie, if that makes sense to you.
No, actually, yeah, it does. And even though the Star Trek movies were kind of, retelling a story, or reinventing characters, I think.
Yeah, but why
I think he did well. I mean,
it's for people who've never seen the show, so.
Yeah, and I think, as much as I talked about, his vision, I think his vision of the Star Trek movie is like really breaking down the essence of the main characters, what it means to do a Star Trek story, which, I mean, there are opinions of that for everybody that's a Star Trek fan. So, he had to find what he considered a Star Trek story. And I think he did well. I think all three of them really did that, even though I kind of am not a fan of the whole Khan thing in the second one. But I think,
yeah, that was unfortunate, but
and even Star Trek Beyond kind of dealt into, you Federation, you think you're doing something good, but you're maybe not always doing it the right way, kind of thing. It seemed to be the cautionary tale there, and that was kind of interesting. And that was a very Star Trek thing to do, make us, question our ideals and decide if they're really the right ones or not. So.
Well, even the Federation, like in Star Trek Next Generation, I mean, Picard embodies the ideals of Starfleet, right? But he's still a human. He's still a flawed human,
right?
And even he has moments of anger and jealousy and this and that. I mean, he's not perfect. Even like one of my prime examples is like in Star Trek First Contact. He's like, he wants to kill the Borg. He's like angry. He's like, we don't subscribe to revenge in the 20 whatever. He's like, well, you seem pretty angry now,
Yeah.
And he's like, and he had to realize, you're right, I am angry. Well, plus he'd been turned into a Borg, so he's kind of bitter about that.
Yeah.
But that's what I like about it, and I think that's one of the things that I responded to with Abrams' Star Trek is that these are flawed people,
yes,
that are forced to come together. And I also, I enjoyed the cast. I thought they were really well cast, and that's why. And maybe, if I'm being honest, maybe Star Wars is still a little bit closer to me than Star Trek, even though I love them both. I just think I had more of a expectation for a new Star Wars film.
Yeah.
And then Force Awakens to me felt more like obvious fan service in a way. It's like, oh, here's your Star Wars movie with all the things that have Star Wars in them.
Yes.
It's like Super 8. It's like, here's your Super 8 movie that's like E.T. and like this, and it's like a Spielberg movie. So it's, in some ways, it's more by the numbers. But is that his fault, or is that Disney's fault, or is that Fox's fault?
Well,
I mean, Kathleen Kennedy's fault? I don't know whose fault it is.
Well, I think it's a combination, because I feel that way about the. Yeah, I'll say that when for a long time I had an afterglow from each of those movies of the prequel or sequel trilogy, just like these are great Star Wars movies and blah blah blah. Now having time to be removed from them and really look at them in a different light. I would say definitely of the three, I liked Last Jedi the best. And it kind of embodied what I wanted, why I like Star Trek Discovery and why I enjoyed the Abrams films. It's like, here's Star Wars, but we're gonna tell a story, and it's not gonna be a paint by number Star Wars story. There'll be familiar things in it. We'll give nods to things you like and stuff like that, but we're really gonna tell the story that I want to tell, not necessarily the one that you want to see. So I don't know. I wish Rian Johnson could have done the third one as well, because I think it would have been a much more satisfying conclusion, and I think it would have been much better. Maybe seeing the first one as kind of like a return to that universe, and the other two as kind of a duology, 2-part story kind of thing. I don't know. I think it would have worked better that way, because it just seemed Abrams wanted to make the sequel to The Force Awakens and kind of ignore The Last Jedi, and it's like there's some pretty significant things that happen in that. You can't really do that and be a coherent story, but okay. So,
well, I mean, Last Jedi has problems too, but
yeah,
I feel like of the three movies, it was definitely the one that had the most, I don't want to say auteur feel, but the feeling like one particular person was doing the story they wanted to do.
Yeah,
it was less it was less a Star Wars story than it was a Rian Johnson Star Wars story. Yes. Whereas the Abrams movies seem like, oh, these are by committee for the most part. These are the boxes we have to check. But Rian Johnson didn't seem like that. And the parts that were more fan service-y were the parts that I responded to least, I think, in the movie. I like the idea, actually, that anyone can be can have the Force. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Anyone can be a hero. I thought that was a good...
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you're Palpatine or a Kenobi or a Skywalker or anything else. But the problem is, this particular set of films is the Skywalker saga.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So make your Star Wars film separate than that. I'd like to see him do another movie in the same universe that has nothing to do with the Skywalkers. I'd like to see another Rian Johnson Star Wars movie that has nothing to do with it.
Well, he's supposed to be doing a trilogy still, so...
well, we'll see. You know. But I would watch those. Yeah. But the thing is, you can't necessarily... fit your own spin on that because that's not the story you're telling. You're telling the Skywalker story.
Right.
And the Skywalker story and the Kenobi story and the Palpatine story, they're all intertwined, and you have to sort of follow that along, which he did, but also tried to spin it around a little bit. I agree, I think, with Mark Hamill, is I didn't like the way Luke was portrayed in the movie. Some of it didn't make sense to me based on, my intimate knowledge of Luke Skywalker.
Hanging out with him all those years.
Yeah, but you know what? If anybody knows Luke Skywalker, it's Mark Hamill. So I'm just saying, if he had doubts and he had issues with the portrayal or with the character, the way it was written in the movie, then I'm gonna give that lots of weight.
Right.
So anyway, this is not a Star Wars show, but I'm very happy that we can even have this discussion. I'm thankful that we can still have this kind of conversation 40 plus years later, that Star Wars is still a thing in our lives, and that Star Trek is still a thing in our lives, that Mandalorian is a thing in our lives, that, all of these things are around, that all the Marvel movies are here, and that, say what you want about the Marvel movies, but they were,
that
spectacle.
Was an achievement. Yes.
It was an achievement. They were spectacle movies, and I enjoyed the shit out of all of them, and they had their flaws, sure, but everything has flaws. It's just, you cannot make a giant studio spectacle movie for like an art house movie. It's just never going to be the same thing. Right. It's going to be this giant thing, and it's going to have problems because it's just a giant thing. So I don't know what Christopher Nolan's problem is, but
well, going back to our technology, I mean, we have things now where I'm just thrilled that my favorite things, Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars, the Marvel movies, all of this is doing new stuff in a variety of ways, whether it be audio, TV series, movies, and then just all this stuff that was fleeting when I was a kid, as far as live action or movies or TV, is now in abundance, and I can't be happier. This is so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to leave the house occasionally, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
you can have both, right?
I'm in a quiet neighborhood, so I can go for walks and stuff like that.
Well, that's true. I do that too. I go hiking and stuff, but yeah, it's all gonna. Everything's gonna turn out. I'm thankful for. Here's another thing I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for science.
Yes,
and I'm thankful for people who believe in science that seem to perhaps be going to be more in charge now, and that we'll see hopefully some end to this, at least this particular hiccup pretty soon.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other things to deal with, but I feel like I can be thankful for the idea that adults, empathetic, sympathetic, compassionate adults seem to be about to be in charge again, and that's good. Yes. And again, I don't want to make this a whole thing about politics. We can't just ignore the world. So I had some doubts about America, but it seems like we're getting back on track. So I'm thankful for that, and the opportunity that we can just sit here and discuss all these things. It's a great time.
Yep.
And
I'm thankful that creativity across the board and as a whole has flourished despite everything that's gone on. That's been exciting to see. There's all kinds of cool new things, and people have found ways to do the existing things they've been doing in new ways, whether it's converting it to a comic book, or we'll do audio episodes, or we'll figure out how to do it and make it so it takes place on Zoom, or we'll just embrace the whole pandemic right on our show. I mean, it's just, people are creatively finding ways to continue, and it's pretty great. And on top of that, as you mentioned, having doubts and concerns about the country we live in, that it at least seems, for at least a recent shining moment, that the majority of the country is forward thinking and embraces science and embraces rationality and sanity. So it's kind of nice to be reminded of that. Not saying that when the leadership changes, all our problems will suddenly go away, because obviously there's a large portion of the country that is broken and fractured, and we'll see how long it takes to repair that, or even if it is repairable. But I think hope is back, and that's kind of a cool thing. So there you go.
Yeah,
I'll be cheesy. Sorry, I'm being cheesy, but
that's all right. No, it's fine. It's actually it's a good sentiment. So I think it's interesting though. All the things we talked about on this show, they all kind of circle back to technology. Yeah. And technology is a great, amazing thing. I mean, we kind of blanket say technology is all these things, but it's such a great tool and such a great set of tools to create and to get together. And it's funny because they always used to say, oh, well, the internet will bring everybody together, but it actually kind of has lately, which is weird. And I mean, granted, it's also could be very divisive too.
Sure.
And there's a lot of room for corruption and for problems, but it's been the promise of the internet has sort of come true in some ways. And we've been able to do all these amazing things and communicate with people and do, like you said, creative projects and whatever, and do these podcasts and whatever else people are doing. And it's just been, so useful. And so thank you, technology forebearers or whatever, creators. Thank you for creating all this stuff that we can use.
I was actually recently watching that miniseries From the Earth to the Moon. And there is a moment in one of the early episodes when, after Kennedy's speech about going to the moon by the end of the decade, that it goes to the scientists at NASA, and they're like, so we don't have the technology to get there, so what do we do? And it was this whole series of, so what would we need in order to get a craft from the Earth to the moon? And, they go through, well, we need this. Okay. And it was just like this whole session of problem solving. And the whole thing, never once did anyone say, well, this is impossible and we should just not even try. And it was just amazing watching the scene. And if I can be hokey again for a little bit, it sounds like it's kind of what to me has happened through this with current technology. It was like, and I saw this at the company that I work at, it was suddenly like, we have to have the entire company working from home. How do we do that? And it was kind of great. It was brilliant at the beginning of this whole thing, because never once did anyone say, yeah, that's just not going to work. We're going to have to fold and lay people off. The people in charge of the company were like, how do we keep this going? And it was, kind of that scene where we're all like, well, we'll do this. And what if we do this and all this kind of stuff? And, it ended up being business as usual, thankfully. And another thing I'm thankful for. But,
gainful employment. Yes.
I kind of feel that spirit has, I've seen local restaurants right at the beginning. They're like, there's no way we can do this, we're done, we're closing. And there's some local places that are great that have closed for good. And then there are others, including some of the places we really love to go, that we're like, what do we do then? How do we change in order to stay afloat and stay as a business? Well, there were restaurants that immediately set up, curbside pickup, delivery, places started reaching out to Grubhub and Uber Eats and all these places saying, hey, we want to use your services and stuff like that. So those are the moments that I've looked for and that have taken, great pride in as a human being, that there are a lot of places and a lot of companies, a lot of people that have said, we can't continue to do things the way we've been doing it. How do we change that to keep going forward? And that's pretty awesome. And, you know, obviously a lot of it's relied on the technology that we have, but it's great because it's been a beautiful tool, and it's really like the internet and computers are like, this is what we're here for, kids, and let's make it happen. So it's been, those moments have been awesome through all of this. So anyway.
Definitely. I think what you're saying, if I can
too long.
If I could
TLDR.
If I could paraphrase you, no. If I could summarize, no. If I could I agree with you, and what you're responding to, and I think what I respond to too, is we're saying that we're thankful for the indomitable human spirit.
Yes, there you go.
That's right. The can-do attitude.
Yes,
if you will. Yeah, but the human spirit. We don't give up. We keep going. Keep moving forward. Things are bleak, but we keep moving forward, and we keep, dare I say it, we keep a little hope.
Yes,
and we keep on trying. We don't get knocked down a few times, but get back up. So
absolutely,
it's the human spirit. And on that positive note,
yes,
we should probably wrap it up. Thank you, Joe, for doing this with me. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
All right, and thanks for listening, everybody. For Joe Dilworth, I'm Chris Ulrich. That was the Flickcast. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, everybody.